Novation updates the Bass Station 2 with some cool new features, Teenage Engineering releases their follow-up to their highly successful OP1, and Serato DJ Pro adds support for another streaming service. Find out more coming up. Thank you for watching PDot TV, where you'll find tips, tricks, and tutorials for DJs and music performers. Now let's get into the video. Novation released the first Bass Station back in 1993, and since then it's been a staple in many electronic dance music hits and underground hits as well. And a few years back they released an updated version they called the Bass Station 2. And now, even years after the release of the Bass Station 2, Novation continues to add new features to the synthesizer. In the latest firmware version 2.5, Novation has added a few cool new features that I know a lot of Bass Station 2 users will find highly useful. The first being a paraphonic mode, which allows the Bass Station to actually play two different notes at the same time. Originally, the Bass Station 2 was a monophonic synthesizer, meaning you could only play one note at once. But with this new paraphonic mode, you can go ahead and use the two separate oscillators and play two notes at the exact same time, adding a whole new dimension to what the Bass Station 2 is capable of. The next new feature is a new filter tracking function, which allows the filter of the Bass Station to follow what you play. So as you're going up the keyboard or down the keyboard, the filter will change along with the keys that you're playing. Another great new feature is envelope retriggering, which allows a lot of possibilities where as an envelope reaches the end of its decay, it'll go ahead and re-trigger again, adding a lot of different kind of modulations that can happen while you're playing your synthesizer. If you're holding down notes or if you're playing through a bunch of different notes, you can get a brand new dimension and a whole lot more possibilities as you're playing this awesome synth. One really cool new feature to me is the addition of something that they're calling oscillator error. Now this kind of harkens back to the older, very vintage analog synthesizers where you get some little micro, errors and some detuning and everything wouldn't be as consistent as it is today. Back then, some analog synthesizers, even if they're two of the exact same model, would sound differently because of the analog parts. And this new update and this new oscillator error feature allows for that kind of, individuality to kind of pop back up in a modern way. And finally, they've added the addition of micro tuning, which means you can really get in there and set the different oscillators to go ahead and sound the exact way you want them. Instead of having, bigger steps, you can really dial in a specific sound that's only going to be coming out of your synthesizer if you take the time to tune it the way you want. Now the best part of this update, just like Novation's other updates, is it's completely free. So if you've been a user of the Bass Station 2, I would highly suggest updating your device to this new firmware and get all these great new features for the price of $0, which is great. And I can't understate Novation's support for all their products in their line, from their older models such as this Bass Station 2 to even things like the circuit and everything in between. They're always adding new features, and that's why Novation products are such a great value for people that want to add a piece of hardware to their studio and have a device with them in their studio that's going to grow in feature set as time progresses. Teenage Engineering had a hit on their hands when they released the OP1. Now this thing was a super small synthesizer, sequencer, sampler. It was basically an all-in-one device to make music that literally fit in your pocket. It was revolutionary at the time and even to this day. You've heard the OP1 on tons of hit records across all genres because of its portability, its flexibility, and its unique sound and design. A few years ago, Teenage Engineering teased another follow-up device called the OPZ or OPZ, depending on where you live in the world, and now it's finally released. Now the first big difference you'll probably notice if you compare the OP1 and the OPZ head-to-head is the OPZ lacks a display. But in fact, it really doesn't. Instead of putting a display on the device to lower the actual price of the unit, you now have the ability to use any of your mobile devices, be it an iPad or an iPhone, and wirelessly connect it and get an even bigger screen with even more controls, and you can get even more in-depth and still maintain a lower price point than the original OP1. Now, initial first impressions and reviews of the OPZ give it a really positive review, and for good reason. Teenage Engineering really didn't cut corners with the OPZ, even though it's a fraction of the cost of the OP1. You still get great sounding synthesizers, an awesome sequencer and the ability to sample directly into the unit, as well as import your own samples into the unit to chop and sequence as well. Now the workflow is going to be different than the OP1 because of, the external screen or no screen if you want to go ahead and use it without a mobile device. But there's still a ton of functionality, and I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of users out there that use this device to its maximum potential. And just like with the OP1, Teenage Engineering has promised continued support of this device, adding new features such as new effects and new synthesizers to make sure that this thing still remains a viable part of your home studio or mobile setup as well. Because of the price point of the OPZ coming in at right under $600, this thing is something that I'm dying to get my hands on. I have a really strong feeling that Teenage Engineering has another hit on their hands with this device, especially because of the price point. It's gonna get in the hands of so many more consumers out there, and so many more people are gonna be in the Teenage Engineering ecosystem and be more interested in their other devices, not only the OP1 if they wanna jump up, but also adding some of their, pocket operators. They have such a diverse lineup of units, from something super budget like a pocket operator up to their top tier OP1, and the OPZ fits right in the middle, right in between. But even if you just start with that device, you have pretty much everything you need to make some great music. And finally, right off the heels of their first open beta of Serato DJ Pro version 2.1, Serato has just released a new updated beta that adds a great new feature. Now, the first version of the 2.1 beta added title streaming support back into Serato DJ Pro, where we had Pulse Locker support in the past, which was taken away once Pulse Locker closed. And now, in this new version, they've added support for another streaming service, and a big one at that. Serato DJ Pro's latest beta now features SoundCloud streaming. Now, you will need a SoundCloud Go Plus account, which is about $5 a month to access SoundCloud inside Serato DJ Pro. Now, compared to Tidal's subscription service, which can range between $10 to $20 a month, this is a fraction of the cost, and you get access to a ton of tracks. Now, you're not gonna see the same kind of tracks that you see on Tidal that you see on SoundCloud, such as a lot of the album content or older, music that you'd find on Tidal, but SoundCloud has such a diverse and large community of up-and-coming producers and even established producers that just put their music on SoundCloud. There's a whole generation of SoundCloud producers, rappers, artists that made their mark in the music industry based on SoundCloud alone, and getting access to that directly in a major DJ software is a huge move. Now again, this is still in the open beta stage for Serato DJ Pro, and I would say if you want to go ahead and gig out with these new streaming services, number one, you gotta make sure you have a great internet connection, and number two, please, please, please wait until the final version of this release if it's a really important gig, because just like Serato warns in any of their betas, there may be some issues that they haven't worked out yet and some kinks that still need working out. So if it's a mission critical gig, just go ahead and wait. But if you just want to give it a try, go ahead to the Serato forums and download this latest beta and try SoundCloud Go Plus. There is a free 30-day trial attached to it, so if you want to give it a try, you can go ahead and see what kind of tracks you can dig up through SoundCloud and add into your Serato DJ Pro setup. So that's it for the news this week. So question of the day, which streaming service, Tidal or SoundCloud, do you think is gonna have a bigger impact for the Serato DJ Pro community out there? Go leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, if you found this video useful, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click right here to subscribe to this channel. Or if you'd like to watch more content, go ahead and click on that video right there. And thank you for watching PDot TV, where you'll find tips, tricks, and tutorials for DJs and music performers. See you next time.